Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our digital twin think tank today. We do these every now and then, thanks to Digicore. And our CEO of Digicore, Naeem Atta, is here today. And we are delighted to have Jim Harris as our special guest. So if you don't know Jim Harris, folks, you're based in Canada, aren't you, Jim? Yes, yes.
Yes.
Canada, and he is an AI futurist journalist and author. And Naeem is the CEO of Digicore. So, Naeem, first of all, tell everyone a little bit about yourself first for people who don't know you.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining, Jim. Looking forward to our chat. As Sam has said, I'm the founder and CEO of Digicore. We're a specialist digital twinning and sustainability company. A little bit about me. My background is software development. My previous life, I've done all sorts of roles. I started off as a coder, so I developed simulators for aircraft, for the Royal Air Force. I worked with utilities companies doing simulations for energy balancing systems, which gave me the idea of doing something myself and starting my own digital twinning company. And we specialize in the ecological environment, energy, transportation, aerospace, and infrastructure. That's about me.
Cool. That's a pretty cool lineup of things that you've been involved in, Naeem. And wait till you hear Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, tell us a bit about yourself and what you've been up to, and tell us a bit about your story, your journey so far.
I began as an author writing a book called The 100 Best Companies to Work For in Canada. There is a similar title in the UK, or there was many years ago. And then I began speaking on the speaking circuit. And I got fascinated by AI in 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov in chess. But to be honest, my clients weren't interested in AI at the time because that was a $100 million project. What happened is when ChatGPT came out, AI was democratized because now anybody could use it. So for the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been focused only on AI in my talks. So I'm having so much fun, so much fun. And this is such a powerful tool. It is literally the most transformative technology we've ever had in my business career.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry to interrupt. I'm getting messages saying it's not able to join. People are not able to join via LinkedIn.
Well, it should be live on LinkedIn. I'll check that. Go ahead. Sorry, Jim.
No, well, that was it.
Well, you know what, Jim, you seem to be the leader when it comes to all of this, the AI and tech, and you were already the leader in the technology. And I know you go to several conferences. One I really want to go to myself, CES, it seems to be a really big one. And I know that you in particular, AI, there's such a fear about it at the moment around, isn't there? So like you've spoken extensively about the growth of technology. How do you see AI and digital twinning converging to transform industries like manufacturing, healthcare, urban infrastructure in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, digital twinning allows us to see how something will perform in the real world before it's built. So Naeem began with talking about he entered into the aviation industry, and we can build an engine. And then they used to actually physically build the engine and put it in a wind tunnel. Well, we can build the engine digitally and then see how it performs in a virtual wind tunnel. So a virtual engine performing in a virtual wind tunnel, which means that you can build and then refine and retest without ever having to build the actual physical engine. And this allows for better performance. You can imagine building a model first and then a prototype. This is a very expensive endeavor, and therefore you don't make many changes. Like, as long as it's good enough, you leave it. But in the digital world, there's zero cost to refining it, to giving a second, a third, a fourth iteration. And therefore you can get better and better performance in terms of sustainability, less fuel use for the jet engine. So you can become radically more efficient because there's zero cost to making more changes. So this is an example of digital twinning and the benefit of sustainability. I'd love to hear Naeem's view on this.
Yeah,
absolutely. Great definition there, Jim. So yeah, effectively, you know, it's a virtual model, or it's effectively a clone and of the real thing, and you know, it allows you to simulate any real-time environment, virtual model of a physical object. It could be a system, or it could be an environment. So it could be like a building or a machine or a roadwork, and even, you know, an entire city. So so it's when we've always done simulations and developed simulators in the past, they've been restricted and constrained by the technology that's available, the performance of compute and storage and sensors, and all those things have come such a long way. As Jim, as you've done many talks on, you know, for example, the cost of drones have come down so much from, you know, I think the example you gave was a helicopter by the police force in, I think it was New York, costing $5 million, and then a drone coming in costing about $1,000. So it's a huge, you know, a huge cost, and that's all because of development of technology and microgeneration. So all the technology that's coming in, that's reducing the cost, and the prediction, all of those simulations, they're all feeding, all that data is feeding into an environment. And now we've got, obviously, with the dawn of AI, we've got so many other things. Oh, we've got Mark joining. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
Yeah, Mark had to join because he was a host. I'm just a co-host. So sorry, Jim, apologies.
And I will just stay in the background. I'm not here.
Yeah, he's just in the background. He's going to be our little decoration in the background. So Mark, yeah, it's okay. Look, this is the lovely thing. And this is a perfect example, Jim, of technology, right? We have all these amazing things happening with AI and all of this cool stuff. But then you have this. You know, when you're actually trying to go live, you're trying to do stuff. And this is a real time example of, you know, technology is great when it works. But when it doesn't work, you know, it provides complications like this. So thanks.
Well, you know what they say, AI is easy and AV is hard.
True. So true. So
thank you for your patience, everybody. I know that it wasn't live on LinkedIn because you needed the host to join it. I'm just the co-host. So there you go. We learned something new today. So it's all learning, isn't it? So Naeem, like you were saying, you know.
Yeah, so I just wanted to finish off that point, really. So, you know, if you look at what are the benefits there, Jim talked about some of them, but some of the key ones are, so if we look at some of the examples that we're working on, whether that's in the aerospace sector, whether we're looking at monitoring the UK airspace, some of the work we're doing with some UK companies, or whether it's, you know, restoring corals in the Red Sea, or whether it's, you know, kelp forests or seagrass growth in the sea. So all these things, there are certain things that are necessary, and one of the key benefits is that with the digital twin and the live feeding of data, you know, you can monitor the performance and conditions of the environment that you're working in. You can have sort of predict future scenarios, and in some cases it's you know, if it's infrastructure, it can be maintenance and of machinery and equipment, or things like pumps and things like that, and then you can, you know, optimize operations. So you could look at if you're looking at to grow a particular thing, whether it's, for example, it could be fish farming, or it could be as we mentioned, a kelp forest. You can simulate scenarios and before making real world changes. So with AI, with the having the right data sets in the background and having the training done on that, you can it's almost try before you buy in many cases, and in some cases it's a case of the what if scenarios. Whether you're building structures, whether that's under the sea or whether that's above ground, how does that impact the environment, and how does that, in an ecological environment, anything underwater, the biodiversity is particularly sensitive to all the environmental factors. So you can simulate all those things, and it's absolutely amazing what some of the work that some of the clients are asking us to do, and also making us think wider and broader about the use cases. And that's where it's great to have people like Jim, because he's a real thought leader in that, in utility. What are the benefits of things? Because it takes almost, so there's the technologists that they're building the hardware. There's people like Jim who can connect that back to industry and what's really going on, and that's why we want to be very close to Jim and his thoughts, and also the people like him doing some great insights into utilities.
It made me just think of an example. I was working with SAP and Trenitalia one time at the launch of a 300-kilometer-an-hour train in Rome, Italy. And they'd put 1,000 points of presence on different components in the train that were IoT, Internet of Things, measuring sensors, the vibration and other parameters of the equipment, and feeding all that data back in real time. And then, for instance, if the brakes on car 4A began vibrating, it would go back and say, based on this level of vibration, the AI would then predict the brakes are going to fail in a week. Let's replace them tonight rather than in 2 weeks, which would be the normal maintenance. You don't know what the status of the parts is. You just replace all brakes every 4 years. But this set of brakes might break after 2.5 years, whereas another set might only break after 9 years. So why replace the 9-year one right now? We only need to replace the one that's going to break in a week. And so there is this huge benefit of higher uptime for the train. It doesn't freeze and paralyze the entire Trenitalia schedule, because it can't move when the brakes fail. And paradoxically, you get 10% lower maintenance costs. Now, given Trenitalia's maintenance budget is 2 billion euros, I feel a Dr. Evil moment coming on. 2 billion euros, that it's this huge saving. So we need to use technology like digital twins, like AI, to predict how something's going to perform in an operational environment, because paradoxically we get higher performance at a lower cost. Now, people think that's impossible. You can't, if I have higher performance, I need a higher cost. No, we have to do things differently in order to get higher performance, lower cost. And this is one of the powerful tools of AI. A human can just not sift through billions of data points every single day and see the patterns, and then go and compare against historical database and predict which component is going to fail, and then recommend fixing it before it fails. So this is called predictive maintenance.
Yeah,
Predictive
maintenance. Really good point. We're working, Jim, with a utility company in the UK, and we're working with them on how best they can optimize their infrastructure. So, they're looking at water pipes, they're looking at gas pipes, they're looking at electricity pylons, and then they've got all the equipment and infrastructure around those. And all of those, whether it's pumps or motors, each one of those devices is also getting smarter and sending out IoT data. And that there's that famous phrase that all the IoT devices are talking, but nobody's listening. And that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do, really. Trying to listen to these poor fellas who are putting out some amazing data. And this company that we're talking to, what they want to do is they want to use, they want to do surveys across the UK to map out all the pipes, or the electricity connections, all the motors, everything that's underground as well as overground. And they're using things like ground penetration radar, acoustic leak detection. So what they want to do is they want us to create a platform which will hold all of this data. And that's one of the key things, isn't it, Jim and Sam? Integrating all this data together from all these various sources, so you've got a single source of truth, and B, it's in one place, so you can start create the algorithms are smart enough then to create the correlations between all the different data from different areas, departments, and it's the twinning of all that which makes it really powerful. And the idea is exactly what Jim is saying. They want to be able to go and do proactive maintenance rather than reactive maintenance, and overall, of course, it's when you've got underground pipes, they can move half a meter either side. So you imagine going somewhere and digging up a road, and you get there and you're not in the right place. It's quite costly to have to redig. So all the idea is we work with these companies and to help them with the proactive maintenance, and also help get them to plan better as well, which is another key thing to be able to do once you've got all the infrastructure. In this case, it's physical infrastructure. Then you can start saying, okay, what's the optimal way for the water to flow, and what's the optimal way to balance the electricity, and then you get sometimes when you bring all the data together, you start having benefits that you didn't realize, because it's the knowns that come into play.
Well, what about, okay, so Jim, what do you think of this? Because I know you've been talking about this yourself recently. How do we ensure these systems remain not just predictive, but also ethical and secure?
Secure. This is a big issue because cybercrime is increasing exponentially. The great news about AI is that it allows us to do things that were impossible before. The bad news about AI is the bad actors are using these powerful new tools for nefarious purposes, whether it's state-sponsored bad actors or whether it's just plain old criminals. So we have to change in our organization. So I was on a TV show with 4 other AI experts, and the host of the show is a very public person. There's a lot of video of her on the TV channel's website and on YouTube, and somebody had trained an AI on her voice. And then her family got a phone call that went something like, I need your help right away. I crashed and rolled the SUV and it's burning. Thankfully, I got out, but my wallet was in it. And so I have no money, and I'm in the hospital here, and the hospital food is terrible and I'm starving. Can you please send $200 to nursebetty@gmail.com? Now, in her family, they have a safe word. So let's say it's jalapeno peppers. If she doesn't say jalapeno peppers in her sentence, it's not her. So the question is, it is so authentic that everybody in the family thinks it's her. So have you done safe word training with your family? I mean, Samantha, you're very public here. And you have this absolutely gorgeous, charming Irish accent, of course. But an AI will pick up that charming, gorgeous accent, and it will sound exactly like you. So, and in our corporations, do people understand this? I was working with a CEO, and they just finished cybersecurity training with every single person in the company. And 2 weeks later, the training firm launched a fake phishing expedition, and 20% of employees keyed in their login and password, and that's after the training. So like this amount of effort that we have to put in is not a one and done. We have to be eternally vigilant around cybersecurity, because these tools, which are so powerful, are being used by these bad actors.
So there's so many positives, though. Digital twinning, I mean, it has the opportunity to change the world and help with sustainability and all of that. And then you have this other side of it. So I'm sure it must be difficult and challenging to talk to leaders in organizations, for organizations who are looking to adopt digital twinning and AI. What are the most common mindset or leadership shifts that need to happen before real transformation can take place, Naeem?
Yeah, Sam, just before I we discuss this point, I just wanted to go back to something Jim said, which is really, really valuable. And the cybersecurity and data security is so key now. So we've got a digital twin product that we've developed, and one of the key things that we have to make sure is we have secure research environments within that product, and data privacy and consent, and making sure that things are secure by design is really key, so that there's no data leakage and that data breaches as such. And we've been using if you look at it, so that there's some good ethics guidelines by the Alan Turing Institute in the UK. I think European Union's got guidelines for trustworthy AI, and in America, I think they've got, in NIST, they've also got risk management. So there's those, and also things like algorithm transparency is key, because at the moment some of the AI is very black box, and it makes a decision, and where people's lives matter. So one of the companies we're working with is at NATS, and National Air Traffic Services, and they are really keen that algorithms have transparency. So if you're guiding air traffic control officers in real flight information, you need to make sure the algorithms are understood by the people, that what their decision-making processes are understood. So that's a key thing. And the other thing is, just wanted to touch on there's Jim, you've probably heard enough about this is bias on the algorithm based on the data that you train it on. You train it on the wrong. For example, if you train something on an AI algorithm on about people and races, and if the data you had was biased toward racism, your algorithm, you'd end up with the racist algorithm. So these things do unfortunately, those risks are all there.
There's a great example of that where Microsoft very early thought, oh, AI can help us with recruiting. So they fed it all the data of all their people. And it very quickly learned that women aren't good in tech, because all the executives at Microsoft were male. And you feed it all this data, it learns the lesson. Oh, women aren't good in data. Women aren't good in tech firms. So the data that you train an AI on is absolutely essential to the performance on the back end. So what is the data we're getting, and what is the inherent biases that exist in that data?
Absolutely. And just, Sam, just going back to the question, sorry, I thought it was quite key to cover that. Go back to your question about how leaders need to change and their thinking. At the moment, like I said, digital twins are great because they need data from all different departments, from different areas, and external data. So they're very rich at integrating data. Similarly, I think leaders have got to not be so siloed or isolated into departments, and they've got to look across the ecosystem whenever they think about solving problems. I think that's one of the key things that needs to change. And Jim mentioned, proactive versus reactive. If your mindset is always being, reactive, then you've got to change your thinking and say, no, let's think proactive first. How am I going to get proactive fixes rather than trying to react whenever something breaks or whenever there's a problem. So those are the two key points from me, and I guess it's also that continuous innovation as well, creating awareness of this as well. For example, this LinkedIn Live we're doing, bringing Jim in and talking to people and creating that awareness, really, what digital twins can do and how it can support you. So from leaders' perspective, it's well worth their while to make sure that the awareness is created within the organization, so that it's part of the cultural fabric, really, to think across departments and think in that integrated way when they look at solutions.
It's interesting, Jim. You're there. Your feet on the ground there. You're dealing with these organizations all the time. What are your thoughts around this?
Well, for North America, 99.9% of all companies are SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. So small is under 100 employees and medium under 500. And CEOs of SMEs are like deer in headlights around AI. They hear a lot about it, but they don't know what they don't know. And they don't have $250,000 a year AI data scientists on staff doing work. And so in some ways, the AI revolution is being led by large organizations like the, OpenAIs, the Googles, the Metas, and other companies like that, the Palantirs. So what I see happening over the long term is, though, that these tools are so powerful and they're so simple to use that small and medium-sized organizations can take advantage of them. But a number of things have to happen. One is mindset. If those leading the organization don't embrace a learner's mind, that I have to learn even though I'm the leader of the organization. I was in Davos this year at WEF, and there's an amazing clip from Mark Benioff saying, I have to learn. The CEO of the largest digital CRM in the world saying, I have to continuously learn if I'm going to take advantage, and Salesforce is going to take advantage of this technology. We have to become lifelong learners, and it's every single person. In fact, it's more important that the CEO be a lifelong learner, because she or he are making capital decisions for the organization. So if you have no appreciation of what these digital tools can do, what AI and digital twinning can do in reducing your carbon footprint, in increasing the operational efficiency of your manufacturing plant, of avoiding problems beforehand, predictive maintenance. If you don't have any idea about any of this, you're not going to invest in it. You're not going to be curious. You're not going to direct your people to do this. And so lifelong learning, beginning with the person who's leading the organization, having a beginner's mind, engaging your people. One of the things that I found very powerful this year in Davos is 39% of the average worker's skill set is irrelevant by 2030. That means we need an industrial scale learning and development, like 20 extra days a year of learning and development for every single person. I don't know any companies that are over-indexing on learning like that, like comparatively to their peers. So there's a lot that has to change for us to take advantage of this. And technology is way far advanced. The problem is people and how we work together. That's the sticking point.
Do you mean people as in, the people in the organization, or the leaders actually even looking at this in the first place?
Both. Because if I have this beautiful technology, I have a new computer sitting on my desk that does all sorts of things, but I don't know how to turn the computer on, it doesn't offer me any strategic advantage. The technology is advanced. But organizations change at the pace of people. It's the pace of people that's the sticking point.
Naeem, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great point. The change is continuous now. It's that there used to be a time where you would go into a company and you go in it, either you're whether you're an accountant or whether it's you're a lawyer, and those traditional skills, even they're being challenged now, and people's roles are continually changing as we adapt more and more by utilizing these modern tools. We've got to have a culture that embraces change, and within your company. So we're quite a small company. We're sort of 45 strong. So I at the moment, it's good because I can talk directly. I can have one-to-ones, and we can, I can push the culture directly to make sure that people are comfortable and people are supported in the way they change, in the way they have their training. But as companies grow bigger, of course, that's harder. So it's making sure that cultural shift is really there's a catalyst for it to take place, and people changing and their roles changing. Not only does it become the norm, but people embrace it and enjoy it, because it does mean you've not just come in and you've learned a skill set and then that's what you've got to do for the rest of your life. Things change and you learn. I mean, I love learning anyway, so that's the key thing.
Always learning, always learning. And Jim, yeah, you mentioned you were in Davos. You've been a few places. Have you seen any digital twinning conferences?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I'm sure they exist. I haven't been looking for them,
I
but
think there's going to be one, maybe in future.
So that's a good point, Sam. So it just tells you sort of how much probably a lack of awareness there is on digital twinning, because there have been the odd conferences, and if I look at us, if I go out there, I don't see many digital twinning specialist companies. There are lots of big companies who say, "Oh, we also do digital twinning." So what we found is, by the fact that we're in this space and we're saying this is our specialist field, we're getting so much traction, and we're getting so much interest, and so many companies and clients are pulling us towards them. So it's very positive, and that probably chimes in with what Jim's experience is, that digital twinning, although in its traditional sense it's been around for a long time, but with all the latest technology and the sensor technology, and now with cloud computing, and with everybody's skills in AI, blooming, lots of things have come together at this point right now. And that's what I feel is making us very attractive and approachable by many clients. Where I feel like our marketing, we don't have a huge marketing department, but we're getting so much traction, and that kind of chimes in with what Jim's saying. I think we need more awareness, and that's one of the reasons we're doing talks like this, that people do appreciate, with your support, Sam and Jim, the benefits and what is the value proposition of digital twins and how it can help organizations.
And, Jim, obviously you were one of the first people I thought of, yourself and Rob, Tiffany, and, what is it, like, if you were doing a talk about digital twinning, like, what is it you think that the main issue is? It that people are a little bit afraid of the word, or do you feel they just don't know what it's about, or they don't understand it?
Well, first off, the people who are going to be doing the digital twinning are design engineers, right? They're for manufacturing and production people, and they're very tech focused. They're very, engineers want to know how something works. So if you show them, they'll be interested and they'll adopt it. The fear about AI tends to be a more generalist fear in the population. They've seen the movie The Terminator with Skynet. They've seen iRobot and Ex Machina, and they fear AGI. But we have to highlight the benefits, and then obviously training and engagement of people. And I'm actually interviewing Geoffrey Hinton, who's the Nobel laureate who just won the Nobel Prize for his work on AI this week. So maybe we can brainstorm what questions I should ask him. But one of them could be around, what do you see as the greatest benefits of AI? And specifically around digital twinning. One of the things that I find most interesting is that the speed is something that is not discussed. So imagine I design a new jet engine, and historically it took me 7 years from the concept through to the rough model, through to the aerodynamic airflow studies, predictive studies, through to actually building a prototype and finding its flaws, and then going back and refining it. Naeem would know this better than I'm making up 7 years. But if we can do this all digitally, I can actually shorten that cycle time from years to months. And that is worth an incredible amount, because I can launch new products faster. The products, when they come out, have fewer flaws in them. I can design them from a customer service point of view. So figure out which is the weakest part in this jet engine that will break first, and preemptively strengthen it before we produce the engine. So all these benefits aren't thought of. But speed, taking something from 7 years to, designing it in 7 weeks, is mind-blowing in terms of the cost of capital, of money, of having all those highly paid specialists working on something for 7 years with zero revenue, as opposed to getting it all done in 7 weeks. Like, the benefits are crazy. But people just don't understand it. They think of the fears around AI.
That's a really good point. That should be in our little tagline, speed, somewhere, shouldn't it? Yeah, that's really good. Naeem, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think we just need to create awareness, and so it's just come to the right point where all these things are coming together, where digital twinning is powerful enough. And if we create the awareness and we follow the appropriate ethics, and there's some good frameworks out there now, really, and we show value by example. So some of the projects we're doing, the clients are already seeing immense value, and we advertise that by whether we do casts like this or whether we put it on our website, and clients will, it won't be long before word gets around about savings, and it's not just savings, it's also, it's good for the environment, and it's reducing CO2 emissions, and it's all very positive, particularly the work we're doing around ecology. And so just by having the digital twin, as Jim said, you're saving so much in optimization and speed to market. You're using far less resources. So I think it's just a case of continue with the messaging, continue with the awareness, and continue with taking on more clients successfully, especially within the DigiCorp with the work we're doing. Absolutely.
And I think even though it's nothing to do with AI, but I mean, people, like, it's like building relationships. Like, Jim, you kindly agreed to come on this, and I know you're a busy man, and we really appreciate your time. Yeah. But it's building these strategic relationships so that if we ever want to do something around digital twinning, we know exactly who to recommend or whatever. Yeah. Anything you want to add before we finish up? I know that there was a bit of a technical issue at the start, so apologies for that, but this will be available on YouTube, and we will be repurposing some of the clips, and there's some great bits of value there. Jim, is there any way that we can help you today?
Well, for anybody who's watching, what I do, my primary business is speaking at conferences and seminars around the world on AI, innovation, and tech. And so if you know of a great conference that needs a great speaker, that's what I do. Uh, I'm also spending a lot of time with executives in advisory work. In other words, if I don't know what I don't know, whether I'm a CEO or leading a board of directors, it might be of benefit to have some insight into where the market's moving so we make better decisions. That's advisory work. We're doing training and boot camps around AI. And so perhaps Naeem has some experts around this who could slot into our training when we're working with manufacturers and design engineers. So because we like to bring globally to the table experts from any vertical function like manufacturing and design and AI
Yeah.
for, say, design work in North America. And the beauty of what we're doing here shows that we can do this all remotely and digitally by Zoom, by Teams, by this particular live streaming platform.
It's Restream.
Absolutely.
Restream.
Restream. And you know, it's funny, just so you know, Naeem, I met Jim at a conference in Toronto. That's right. Toronto, wasn't it? Was it Toronto? Yeah.
This year it's going to be in Vancouver.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay.
If you're coming.
And Sam, maybe we do have create our own digital twinning conference, and Jim would be a welcome guest there, of course.
You never know. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mark, for setting this up. And we know we're learning all the time about technology all the time. So, Naeem, thank you so much, and congratulations on being featured in the Sunday Independent, by the way.
Woohoo!
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Thank you so much for